So, hello and welcome everyone. Today we are going to discuss about interview questions of Docker. I already recorded this video, but due to my mistake only I didn't enable the mic. So I am re-recording it because even though I do voiceovers, I can't match my answers because those are not remembered answers. Those are conceptually answered. So without wasting time, let's start. And one request to you that we are going to target 10 questions, 10 to 15 questions, and I will answer those. Then ChatGPT, submit to ChatGPT, and it will give us the rate our answer and refined answers with improvised way. So one request to you that if possible, after I read the question, please pause the video and try to answer yourself. So without just saying, we thought that yes, it is an easy question and we are able to answer, but when we are going to speak about that answer, we can't in real time or interview. So please try to speak as much as you can, and after the review of ChatGPT, just compare your answers with the refined answers. That's it. So let's start without any delay. As you can see, I already completed my Ansible and Jenkins. I already many things, but still I'm doing practice only. So let's start. What is Docker? Please pause and try to speak yourself first. So Docker is an open source platform which is used to build the packages, show the dependencies, and run the applications with an environment in a consistent way, and allow to run applications in containers without depending on any requirements. And this takes time. Then question number two: Why do we use Docker? So second question is why do we use Docker? As Docker provides us an consistent environment to run our applications without depending on explicitly on any requirements, and it also show the it builds the packages and library store the libraries and make our environment consistent to run any applications. We use Docker. So question number three: Docker versus virtual machines. The main difference between Docker and virtual machines are is virtual machines use their own guest operating system, where Docker containers use the host operating system. So, for the feature of lightweight, And if you go to the architecture for virtual machines, it is like virtual machines, then hardware, then hypervisors, then the virtual machines with guest operating systems. But for Docker, it is Docker host operating system, then Docker engine. After that, the containers with the applications which are using the host operating system only. Hope you are also trying to answer these questions. So, what is a Docker image? So, the Docker image is an read-only template of the packages, dependencies, and libraries, which we can further build to make it a container for our application users. Then number 5. What is a Docker container? Docker container refers to a run or stopped instance of an image where our actual application is running, and it has all the necessary things like libraries, packages, dependencies, and all the requirement files to run our application consistently, irrespective of the environment. Question number 6. Image versus container. As we as we discussed about before, image is just a read-only template of the packages and requirement files of our Docker, where while the container is a running or stopped instance of the image. Question number 7. What is Docker file? Docker file is a text file, or we can say instruction-based text file, which instruct the Docker which task to perform, like which image to use, which supposed to install by the commands, and what files to copy, which working directory to work on, and what should be the levels of the application. Everything. So simply we can say that Docker file has all the instructions which our Docker is about to follow to complete and to run the application. And in the Docker files, we have the components, and or we can say the instructions like from, run, and each instruction are separate layers in Docker. What are the main Docker file instructions? Some important Docker file instructions are from, copy, export, run, cmd, entry point, env, work direct, copy, level, env, exports, etc. repeated there. Okay. Then question number 9. What is from instruction in Docker file? The from instruction in Docker file specifies which image to use with their versions. If we are not specifying any version during mentioning the image name, it will pull the latest version of that image. And if we explicitly give any specific version, it will pull out the specific version from the Docker Hub. And question number 10, what is run? Please, I'm saying you repeatedly that if you can just pause and try to speak yourself, that way it should be your practice. And you will be familiar with this type of questions in interview also. The run instruction in Docker file is used to execute some Linux commands like to install some software, create some files, or restart or removing any software, or whatever in which we are using the uh, Linux commands. But it is not inside the container, but it is executed during in the build stages only. But technically, it is inside the container only and executes. Okay, then let's go to question number 11. As these are all our ops and Docker file questions only, so I will complete till part 1. Okay. What is entry point? Sorry, it is about what is CMD? CMD is the instruction used in Docker file to use as a value to the entry point variables, and these are easily overridable. And if you're not using these CMD commands or instructions, it will take the default values. I think I missed something here. Let's see in the review stage. What is entry point? So entry point is the default variable in Docker file, which is executes all the time, and sometimes it is associated with CMD also. And but this is not overridable, and let's see. I can't recall more. So let's say in different stage. Both CMD and entry point are similar, but while CMD is in just a normally used and it is overridable, but it is a default variable, while the entry point is the main variable and having it can be overridable. I have understanding of these things, but I didn't practice for the interview terminologies. That's why. What is copy? Copy instruction used to copy some resources from local environment to inside the containers or vice versa, like same as containers to local to a specified path with source and destination. What is copy versus? So we just completed till 21. I don't know how the explanation from 14 to 21 is deleted. So let me show you once how I did. So I didn't copy paste from anywhere, just I recorded fully, but after that I don't know how it is happened, but those are deleted after this answer. Don't know what to do. So after copy, the difference between copy and add. So as you also know that copy is for um, copy and move files from build stage to container, and add for copy pasting the local files and working with the tar archives, and also can get the resources from URL using curl and wget command. And working directory refers us to the working directory of the process, the Docker processes in which directory they should be run. Then for environments, as you also know that to define the environment variables to use in the Docker file itself or inside the containers, like mm, defining our creating environment variables for on which environment you are working. So like production environment or whatever you can say. Arc, this is also an variable, but I don't have the proper idea, so I just skip this question. Then after that, 19th number question was arc versus environment. So as you know, env is for environment variable and arc also an variable, but let's see. Then what is export instruction in Docker file? So as you also know, it is to host the application on a specific ports. You are using export command in Docker file. And the last, I mean, 21st question was export and -p. So as I know, export is used in the Docker files for exposing on a specific port which is not associated to anything, any other resources. And -p we are using during the command line to mention that our application and host port is this. I mean, our host port is mapped with this port number and application is on this port number. So let me show you how we did. I just did and video is completely 30 minutes video, but don't know how it is deleted. This is the score ChatGPT gave 996 after 12. We did very bad. Sorry, I did very well. Sorry. So overall score is 7.5. Have to practice more. This is what the actual Docker definition. But I made that mistake, so ChatGPT found out and said me not to use this. I use this as one only to build package. So build and package their own applications. It should be a separate. Then the purpose of Docker, these are okay. Docker versus virtual machines. There I used one mistake that I said that uh, Docker containers will use the host operating system, but not like that. The container runtime will assign the host operating system to our application. So here you can see that host operating system kernel and isolated applications using the container runtime. Sorry. Okay. Then what is Docker image? Here is the container. You can say runnable instance or running or stop instance based on the state, but never say anything any one like running instance or stopped instance. But it is the safe approach to say runnable instance. Okay. An image versus container. Image is the read-only template and container is runnable instance created from that image. Say whatever you know about those topics. It is not like you have to just be perfect from top to down. Then Docker file. I think we also can start from Docker file is a collection of instructions. Then the mostly used instructions are there. Then from instruction in Docker file. So these things you can note down or take screenshot. Just do remember these things. Then CMD I made mistakes on this. CMD is the default command or argument which will run after the container start. But entry point is the main argument or main executable command uh, which is about to run in the container. And you also know the main difference is it is main argument and that is the default argument. So the CMD is obviously overrideable and entry point is not. And CMD versus entry point I just discussed now. Copy. I said wrong in the during at the time. So the correct wording with the sentence is generally copies files from build context to the image. Okay, this is the build context. This is the image. Copy versus add. So copy we already know. So add is this. Copy local files or directories, then extract local archives. Also support URLs using call and wget. Then work directory. I used this in the sentence. So ChatGPT is mentioning to this terminologies, but it is not like you have to just uh, hard code this and buy at this and send the interview. You can't do this. Just understand the approach and concept. But we have to just familiar with the terminologies when to use first type of terminology to use during the interview. So this is the good way to improve yourself, your communications. IN arg, the build time variable. Okay, here is the difference between arg and env. You can take a screenshot also. And exports. I did something wrong. Application listens to port number this. This is the okay. By expose, you are saying that the application listen to this port number. But with this command, we are assigning that our application is hosted on this port number. Okay. Declare, and this is the publish code one. Okay, we completed 21 questions, and here what is the fixes I have to do. I have to be careful with this. Run CMD entry points. The instructions overall, the instruction in the used in the Docker file. Okay, so this is for today, and initially I'm making many mistakes. Let's see how it is going. And we just completed 21 questions out of 50 from the Docker. And after that, we also have many questions like this is the Docker questions. After that, we have Kubernetes, the king. Let's see how it is going. There is no hurry. Just be patient. And if you have any advice for me, just let me know. And if this approach is good or not to do 2020 questions. And do you have any advice for me or anything to say to me? And really thank you for watching and supporting. Just keep practicing and all the best for whatever you are doing. And really thank you for watching. We'll see you on next video for question number from 22 to 50. We'll complete that. Okay. Bye. Thank you.